Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Kill the Small Talk, and I'm your host, Alex Caron. On this podcast, I bring on guests from all walks of the entertainment industry, and we get down to the nuts and bolts. On this episode, I'm talking to my very great and funny friend, Jason Collings. You may recognize him from his appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, or his podcast called Pull Up, or his special called It's Not Me, It's You, which is up on YouTube. Here's the interview. Enjoy.
It's kind of how I approach stand-up, to be honest. Alex knows.
Yeah,
I don't really sit down and write it out or anything. I just go, let's see what happens. And I go on stage for an hour.
See, when I started, because I came from acting and theater and like short films and stuff. So I'm used to, having a fully like written out script. And I think that was sort of maybe my downfall, because I relied so much on the script that if something happened, because like you're performing in a bar, you're dealing with the guys who are watching, the sports, and there's a pool table in the back, and there's waiters and waitresses walking. So you're, it's constantly unpredictable. It's unpredictable. So
because when you're doing a TV show or a movie, everybody on set is all on the same page.
Yeah.
But now when you're doing stand up, I'm the guy in the corner of the bar while the game's playing. All of a sudden, I'm just going to start talking to you. And they're like, what the hell's going on? Yeah.
Also, good morning. How are you, man?
Hey, good morning. Am I puffy? I had a late night.
Puffy where?
My face. I've had a very late night.
Did you perform last night?
I did. I was at the Ice House with D.L. Hughley last night. And then from there, I ended up going over to Russell Peters' house to have cigars till I didn't get home till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's why you're so red.
Am I red? It might be the lighting.
It could be the lighting.
Or it could be my Caucasian skin.
You was a redneck.
I am, especially when I'm done doing the yard. Gets so red.
Yeah, man. Yeah, great to see you, dude. Hey, you're my first guest, which
no
is
way.
Honor to have you as my first guest, man. Initially it was going to be my roommates. You were going to be guest number 2, but I'm
second choice.
You're second choice.
That doesn't make me feel bad.
Good. They were supposed to be on because they're both actors and improvisers and writers. So we were going to talk about that and then our, sketch comedy show. But I'm honestly glad you pulled through, man, as my first. This is really exciting.
Are these roommates any of the guys that were involved in your short film?
One of them was. Yeah, one of them was. He was the co-pilot. With also the
I know I'm a broken record. Yeah. I know I'm a broken record, but dude, I'm so proud of you for that project. That thing was it's so great. It's so great.
Thanks, man.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I appreciate it. Yeah, dude. What are your thoughts? Because I as someone who made it, I'm really curious to know what people truly, genuinely felt when they were watching, because it's a heavy subject. We're talking about subject. World War II and the droppings of the first atomic bombs.
Just my first thought was, I know you guys were like on a shoestring budget, but the quality, with that said, the quality was incredible. The director, whoever directed it, did an amazing job. Amazing job. Because I got a trash truck going by. Can you hear it?
A little.
I'm going to close the window. Hold on.
And now for your entertainment, Robbie Archstall. Okay, never mind. Jason's back.
That was quick, right? But yeah, my first reaction was, man, they really it looked, and then the way you did the old coloring, was it sepia? I don't know what they call that.
Yeah, sepia. Yeah, Adrian's really inspired by Howard Hughes's like early films.
That's the vibe it got. That's the vibe it had. That really, and then taking myself out of it from like a behind the scenes thing, and then also taking myself. Oh, this is one of the things I wanted to say. What I got from it, your part, whenever I see a person that I'm really close friends with acting, it's sometimes hard to separate. Oh, that's Alex. but you did such a great job that I was all of a sudden watching it. You were that guy. You were was it your great uncle or whatever it was?
Yeah, he's my grandfather's first cousin, which would make him my third cousin
Oh, you guys
twice
could totally sleep
removed.
together.
No, he was 75 when he passed away. The year I was born, actually. So he would have been well into his early 100s.
Wow. But yeah, man, watching you, I was like, okay, and then I was in the story. I was really locked in, and I really felt like I'm watching these real guys. It was great. And the way that you guys were able to portray the scene where he's seeing, as they're flying away, he's seeing the mushroom cloud. That was just so, I mean, just the heaviness of that, knowing what just happened. And it was almost like he knew but didn't know. Like, what did I just do?
Yeah, that was the sentiment of most of the crew members on the plane. Most of them they knew what they were going to drop was going to be may have shifted in a new direction in the way the war was going, but they didn't know the amount of devastation and the catastrophe that it was, gonna cause. But my relative, Bob, smart guy, like came from like an engineering background, like studied engineering and wanted to be like a pilot when he was like very little and always wanted to fly planes. So his just mindset was very like technical, just a very technical guy. So
like this is what we're doing. This is how it's going to work. I noticed there was the scenes where he was meticulously and taking notes in his journal, and it was great, man. It was really
and
cool.
Plus he was close to Paul Tibbets because fun fact. So like when we were writing the script, there's that scene where where Paul just tells Bob, they're having that conversation in the middle section of the plane, and Paul Tibbets leaves towards the cockpit, and my character Bob goes up to him and grabs him by the leg, and initially, and we had written, he said in the script he said Tibbets. They would call each other by like their like last names, Caron, Tibbets. I was like, Tibbets seems more formal. They had a much closer relationship. So I was like, I feel like that should be changed to his first name, Paul, because he would call him Bob. He'd call him Bob and he'd call him Paul. So we changed that, and I was like, yeah, that definitely feels,
especially in that moment.
That's right. Yeah,
it was like, this is just friend to friend, yo. That was cool,
dude. What are we?
Is a very famous name, right? Isn't there like airports named after that guy? Like, I don't know why that sounds familiar. I don't know why Tibbets Field is in my head.
Maybe it might be. I'm not sure. Yeah, it might be named after him. But anyways, dude, let's talk about you, man.
Me?
That's why you're here. That's why you're here. So we grew up in the same sort of neighborhood. I grew up in, Downey, Lakewood, Long Beach, Bellflower. My dad grew up in Lakewood, and he was born in the early 70s. So like that whole area is still, home.
I think your dad and I were born the same year, 71.
71, yeah.
Yeah. 71. Yeah, I was born in Santa Monica. I was born in Santa Monica in 1971.
So was he?
I was born at the... No way. I was going to say, let's see. Born in Santa Monica. The first 5.5 years of my life, I lived in, it's right near Calabasas, Agora area. There's a little hidden town called Malibu Lake. And it's literally this town, beautiful town. Were you a fan? You were the fan. We just talked about The Office earlier. Were you a fan of The Office?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a episode where Michael drove his car into a lake.
Oh, is that where they shot it?
That neighborhood is where I lived. And it was back then, it was like an artist's colony. My dad was a musician and my mom was a singer-songwriter. And so they lived, and a lot of musicians lived out there. And then the house that my parents were renting got sold. So we had to move, and we ended up living in North Hollywood for a little while. Not long. And then I spent my first half of kindergarten in North Hollywood. And then we moved down to Long Beach because my aunt had a house in Long Beach that my dad was struggling musician, not a lot of money. And my aunt had a house. My aunt and her husband, my Uncle Rudy, who was a retired LA fire captain, they had a house in Long Beach that they were selling. Because at the time they lived in it, but at the time, I guess to be an LA County firefighter, you had to live in LA County, and they were living in Orange County, in Rossmore.
Right.
So he's like, we're going to move to the Valley. We're going to sell these two houses. And so they sold. The deal was we could live in my aunt's house in Long Beach while it was for sale. But part of the deal was we had to be there and show potential buyers the house. And then during that time, my parents were looking for an apartment in Long Beach, and they found one. So then we moved but then I've been living in Long Beach ever since kindergarten. Well, I live in Lakewood now, but I grew up in Long Beach.
Right. But you're like, because I've been to your place, and I think that street constitutes the border between Lakewood and Long Beach now.
I look at Long Beach across the street.
Yeah. Because
where I live I think where I live used to be North Long Beach. And now in
right.
Years ago, they kind of, because like Lakewood, like it's almost like a hand going up. It's like Long Beach goes up into Lakewood because there's parts of Long Beach that go. Yeah. And yeah. So, but if you just go one block that way, you're in North Long Beach. They changed it now. They have all these new signs up in North Hollywood. They call it Uptown Long Beach now.
You mean North? Okay. Yeah. North Long Beach.
Long Beach, they call it Uptown.
There's that Crunch Fitness, right? Isn't there a Crunch Fitness like right there on the intersection? I think that used to be a Smart and Final, and that's where my dad worked. That was his like first kind of like full-time job.
Is that the one, the Crunch Fitness on, is it Lakewood and RT?
I believe so. And then there's the In-N-Out, like if you make a right, and then there's the CVS. Yes. Remember the CVS across the street that you, me, and Raul went to?
Yes.
Yeah, right there.
So your dad used to work there when it was a Smart and Final?
Smart and Final, yeah, that was his like first, kind of full-time job. But yeah, everyone, it's so fun. Everyone in our family, because my grandfather was a manager for, I'm forgetting the name of the grocery store. Not Smart and Final, but he was a manager for a grocery store for a long time, for like 40 years. And then after that, like all his kids kind of.
Was it Long Beach? Was the grocery store Long Beach or the area? Because there's like Albertsons is a local market we had here. And of course, Stater Brothers.
Vons.
Yeah. Ralph's.
Is not a Safeway. Safeway's more northern.
California, you might be thinking of back in the day, all the Safeways, they used to be called Thrifty Marts, and they became Safeways. Like I remember my dad telling me if you went up on Signal Hill, which is a hill in the middle of Long Beach, back in the 50s, 60s, as far as I could see, you see a bunch of these giant T's. And because Thrifty Mart was this chain of restaurants, and their logo was just this big red T, and you could just see them for as far as you can through LA. We had one right across the street from my house where I was growing up.
Thrifty Mart,
baby. I'm old. God.
So you grew up in that area, and your dad is a musician. Didn't you tell me once that he had a place also in like Laurel Canyon?
My parents lived
in the late 60s, early 70s.
They lived the whole Laurel Canyon experience, California rock whole thing where like, they'd be hanging out at the house, and then Jackson Browne would just walk into the living room and, hey, can I get a beer? You know what I mean? It was like that kind of community. Because my uncle, who was in the bands, because my dad had a charting hit in 1970, and the band made up of my dad, my Uncle Roger, my Uncle Larry, and then Uncle Larry ended up becoming the bass player for Loggins and Messina, which was Kenny Loggins, and Jimmy Messina had their group, and all the old songs like even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love. My uncle played bass and did all the falsetto backups on all those songs and stuff. So we were in that thing for a while. But my dad and in the band that he was in, all of them wanted to be the leader of the band. So of course the band broke up, and then they signed really bad contracts where managers and agents bought houses in the Hollywood Hills while my dad was on his hands and knees killing cockroaches.
They all get
So then he in the early 80s, well, let's see. No, in 1979, I believe it was 78, 79, one of his bandmates started an electronics component company, like these little inductors, and he showed when my dad quit music, he kind of didn't know what he was doing. So he started coaching my brother and I in football. And one year we're at football practice, and Dad's kind of in between bands and stuff like that, and this brand new Porsche pulls up. And all the kids, and I was on a hood team. Me and my brother were one of very few white people on the team. So when a brand new Porsche pulls up to the park where we were practicing, everybody stopped and went, "What the heck?" And the guy gets out of the car, and I recognized him as the guitar player in one of my dad's bands. I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's just Jeff." And I saw them talking, and they had a meeting. And it turns out Jeff started this electronics component company down in Orange County and came to the practice, said, "I want you to come work with me and build this company." And they ended up building that company into a Fortune 500 company. And so from the early 80s till he retired out of that, that's what he did. He worked in he was a businessman. He had an office. But when I was 12, 13 years old, my dad put my brother and I in martial arts, and we ended up doing martial arts for years and getting our black belts. And then my dad ended up getting a black belt. And I was going to
say, how did he get into it? Because I thought that came from...
See, here's what happened. Usually it's the kid learns from the dad. Well, he just put my brother and I in it for like disciplinary reasons and stuff. Because mostly me, my brother, not really, but I was getting in a lot of fights at school and stuff. And so he's like, "I'm going to put you in martial arts." And our whole family thought he was crazy. They're like, "He's fighting at school and you're putting him in martial arts?" And my dad goes, "Trust me." Literally, the minute I started taking martial arts, I never got in a fight at school again. We were doing martial arts. And when my dad... I was ended up at 21. I was working at the company that he was, running. And he called me in his office one day. He says, "Close the door behind you." I'm like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble." Right. He says, "This company," because my dad he was the vice president of operations, but he didn't own it. And the owner was kind of crooked and he ended up going to like prison. Prison? It was a trip. Yeah. He was doing some shady. Yeah. Big time. He went to one of those, white collar prisons, So my dad pulls me in the office, close the door, says, "They just told me they got to do some cutbacks." And I go, "Uh-oh." And he goes, "They want me to fire my own son." And I was like, "Oh, shit." He goes, "You know what? I don't want to do this anymore." And he goes, "What do you think me and your brother open our own martial arts school?" He goes, "We're black belts. Your brother's already teaching at other schools. Let's do it." And I was like, "All right." And I'm not kidding. 30 days from the day of that meeting, 30 days later, we opened our doors. Within that first month, we found funding. Later. Yeah, we found funding, location. My dad was a hustler. And a month later, we opened our doors. And then we did that. I did that for the next 20 years.
How'd you guys get funding so quickly?
People that were students under us that really believed in our stuff and liked the way we taught. We had some people with money, and one of our students was like, "I got you." And back then it wasn't a lot. It was 1992 is when we opened our doors. And I think it was only like 40 grand or something. Whereas today it's like, that's easily a 6-figure thing to have to do. Yeah. But we found the location. I did most of the guy who taught me martial arts and myself, we did most of the construction and the making the dressing rooms and all the other stuff.
We did hire like a whole crew.
Yeah, we did everything ourselves. And then I did that. I opened that school when I was 21 years old. And then when I was 35, I started doing stand-up comedy. And then when I was 41, when I was 41, I sold the school. I ran my business for the first 7 years of stand-up.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's a good segue into how you got into comedy. So you've told me before, and from what I remember, not to bring up old wounds, but your dad was sick.
Dad was sick. My dad got diagnosed with colon cancer, and I was doing that thing where I was like, everything's okay, nothing's wrong. I was doing the denial thing. My brain went into defense mode because my father and I were so close, and I'm like, no, everything's okay. But I needed an outlet, and I was friends with Joe Coy, who's a pretty big comic, Russell Peters, who's a pretty big comic. I'm friends with these guys. Joseph. Before I was a comedian.
Joseph?
Joseph, yes. And I'm buddies with these guys before I was a comedian because my best friend that I grew up with basically discovered Joe Coy. And so he introduced us a couple years before I did stand-up, and we kind of were hanging out. And I needed
Joe was already a bigger name at this point, or was he still selling shoes at Macy's?
Why? He was still working at Nordstrom selling shoes and doing
Nordstrom's.
Doing like the Asian night at the Laugh Factory, kind of like that. He was just starting to pop and get like headlining weekends. Mm-hmm. just starting. But he was still, you know, he was still driving a old beat up Acura. And, so I did that. And then Joe said, kind of convinced me after Joe met my father and after meeting my dad, he was like, do you really want to do stand up? I was like, yeah, man, I tell you all the time I want to do it. He goes, yeah, man, you might want to do it or your dad might not ever get the chance to see you do stand up. And that's when kind of reality hit me. And I'm like, all right, this is real. He's dying. He's not going to be around much longer. So like the next day I went to a comedy club in the Ha Comedy Club in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
I went there with my brother and I went to the front door. And I'm pretty sure that when I went to the front and I asked the guy that was doing the tickets for the owner, I'm almost 100% sure the ticket guy was Chris D'Elia. The guy taking tickets at the door and ripping tickets was Chris D'Elia. And I asked for the owner of the club, and because Chris had just been doing, when I started stand up, Chris was only like 6 months in. He's got like half a year on.
He was fresh.
Yeah. So he's doing his thing. He was at the front door working, giving out tickets and shit for stage time. So he goes and the owner comes out and I introduce myself. I said, my name's Jason Collings. I'm a comedian. And I never did it before ever. And he goes, yeah. I go, yeah, I was with Joe Coy, John Lovitz, and Fraser Smith last night. And they were telling me that I should come do stand-up comedy at your club. And he goes, really? I go, yeah. He goes, they said that? I go, yeah. They didn't say that, by the way. Joe told me to go to the open mic at the Ha. I was like, no, I'm already a comedian. Not true.
Yeah, I'm already doing it. I'm already established.
Yeah. And he said, and Jack Assadorian, the Assadorian family, I call him Jackass. They own the Ha. Jack says, well, how long have you been doing stand-up? I looked this man right in the eyes and I said, 5 years. Never did it before in my life. He says, okay. And Joe Coy told you? I go, yeah, because Joe was starting to blow up and they knew who he was and shit. He says, well, come back tomorrow. I'll put you on the show tomorrow. And that tomorrow was like a Friday night main show, 8 o'clock show, like a real show. The bringer, not a open mic. It was the real show for their club on their weekends. So I go, all right. And I show up the next day and I had nothing, dude. But I was every day for 4 or 5 hours a day, 4 or 5 different 1-hour classes. I was teaching every day. So I was talking and speaking in front of large groups of people every day. And I taught with humor. So I had the muscle of running a room, getting their attention and like a room full of 5-year-olds. I could keep a room full of 5-year-olds' attention for an hour. That's almost impossible. But I've been doing that for then at that time, it was
20 years,
almost 20 years I've been doing it. Right. So I show up and the guy walks out. He goes, you're Jason Collings. I go, yeah. He goes, you're going on third. You're doing 15 minutes. I'll light you at 12. I was like, okay. And now when I tell comedians that, they go, fuck, 15 minutes your first time? But you got to understand, for me, 15 minutes felt like nothing because I'm running these 1 hour plus 1 hour, 1.5 hours sometimes classes where you have to keep their attention. And both my brother and I were very involved instructors. We were humorous, but we weren't the kind of guys that goes, here's a move, go over there and practice it and then go in the corner and read a magazine. We were hands-on, we wanted everybody to be the best. So I had that. So when he said 15 minutes, I'm like, fuck, that's going to be so easy. You know, I didn't know what he meant by the light though. For your listeners that don't know what the light is, when you're at a comedy club, if you're scheduled for a 10-minute set, they'll ask you, when do you want your light? And you say, I'll give me a 2-minute light, means the light will come on to let you know you have 2 minutes
8-minute mark
to wrap it up. Right. See, and I'd been going to comedy clubs for so long, all my life I've been going to comedy clubs. As soon as I was old enough to go to comedy clubs, I was me and our buddies would take our girls for dates to the Comedy Store and the Improv. Like that was what we did. And there was a great show in Long Beach that I went to all the time. So I knew comedy clubs. And when the light thing, I remembered, oh man, that's what that was. Cause I remember sitting in the back of the Improv watching Joe one night before I was a comic, just there hanging out. And this red light on the wall would turn on. And I'm like, dude, that must be annoying for the comics. Cause I thought it was some signal for the wait staff or something. I'm like, oh, it's probably a light. It's probably a light. Right. And they're probably using a light so they're not talking during the act. That's what I thought it was. Mm-hmm. And then when the guy said, I'll give you the light, I still didn't know what it meant. But then I'm on stage and it's going well. My first time I was doing crowd work. I was talking to the audience. I was doing callbacks. I'm sitting in the chair like I'm some veteran comic. But what you have to understand is that my education into stand-up comedy was going and watching the greats. I didn't even know about the open mic scene. I'm like, oh, those are just
Very
guys in
different.
coffee shops doing poetry or whatever. I'm watching Dane. I'm watching, Tosh, Chappelle. I'm watching these guys every week, and I'm seeing these naturals who make it look easy. So this is what my brain is going, that's how I'm going to do it. So I looked like I knew what the hell I was doing. And then during my set, the guy that was running the show opens his phone, and it was in '06, so it was a flip phone, and starts waving the phone.
Yeah.
But you know how it is. You've been on stage. You know how you can't really see the audience because of the lights in your face.
No,
so I didn't know who was waving the phone. My first thought was, because my dad was sick, my first thought was, oh shit, that's my brother. We have to go.
Oh, like someone. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, shit.
But then I quickly realized, oh, that's the wrap it up light. That's what he meant by the light. Because then when I saw him, he moved the phone close to his face, and I'm like, oh shit, that's the guy running the show. So then I wrapped it up. And as I'm walking off stage, the host goes, great job, dude. And I run into a comedian who's kind of a veteran comic at the time. His name was John Roy. And John Roy goes, hey, man, how long you been doing comedy? I said, what time is it? And he goes, it's 8:20. I go, I've been doing comedy for 15 minutes. And he just goes, that's not a true story. I'm like, okay. And then I run into the owner of the club, and he said, hey, come back tomorrow. You're on the show tomorrow, too. And I've been doing stand-up ever since. My third set.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my third set, I recorded it, and I took it to my dad so he could see me do stand-up. And he watched it. He didn't really laugh, and I'm like, uh-oh. But I realized he was watching it as an artist studying another artist. He was watching it like, okay. And then at the end of my set, he kind of is quiet, and he goes, that joke about Elaine, because him and my wife were super close. He goes, that joke about Elaine having the kids thing, don't tell that joke. Your mom's not going to like that joke. And I go, okay. And then he said, but other than that, he said, you look seasoned. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you look like you've been doing this for years. Then he said, son, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Don't stop doing this. And a month later, he was gone. He literally, I started stand-up in July. He passed away in August. Isn't that crazy?
In between, from when he told you that until his passing, had he still not, he wasn't able to see you in person. It was through the.
Yeah, he never got to. He was too sick to leave the house. Yeah, he was in a lot of pain. And that was some of the hardest stuff because, 7 years in, I was on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. I was on BET Comic View. I was doing all these big things. They put my name on the wall at the Comedy Store. They invited me and flew me out to do the biggest comedy festival in the world. And he didn't really get to see all that. Montreal, Just for Laughs.
Just for Laughs, yeah.
Yeah, 2013. I was one of the guys on 2013. I did Best of the Fest, Talk of the Fest. Did a bunch of shows, did the BET Comic View show, but that was kind of rough. But I felt like he was on my shoulder a little bit. Like there was a moment when I did the Tonight Show where I'm behind the curtain thing that opens up before you walk out on stage. And I'm hearing Leno talk. This guy's been on this and that, and he's performing at the Brea Improv this weekend. And I'm listening to that, and I look over, and the stage producer lady is looking up at me. She goes, "Are you okay? Are you nervous?" She asked me, I was nervous. And in that moment, I was like, no, I'm literally not nervous at all. And I had this overwhelming feeling like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now, And then the doors opened up and I walked out to an applause break. It was crazy. They were like, yeah. And then I walked out. I was like, hey guys, what's up? And I went like this, and the place went nuts. Like they knew who I was. And then I ended up doing a 4.5 minute set, got something like 6 or 7 applause breaks in a 4.5 minute set. And Joe Coy called me afterwards crying. It's one of the best late night sets I've ever seen. He goes, that was crazy. You made it. You made it, which I didn't make it because the business always changes. I thought I made it. I'm like, this is it. I'm about to be a national headliner because that's how it used to work. And then some shit changed in the business.
Social media.
Not quite yet. Back then, it was more of the diversity thing, which I 100% agree with. It was not diverse enough. There was
too many cis white men, cis straight white men.
Yeah, I was literally told by my manager, there's a huge shift and nobody really cares about middle-aged straight white guys right now. Like literally said those words. And I'm like, yikes. And I got some weekends here and there and a few other things, but like it didn't pop it at all. And I'm like, fuck. Then I started overcoming that and building my rep again. And I was like, here we fucking go. And I was about to blow up again, right? I had Russell Peters. He was going to produce a 1 hour special for me. Called a meeting with one of the biggest directors and one of the biggest television directors. He wanted to direct my special. We didn't approach him. He saw me at a show. He's dying in the front row, and he's like pounding the table. And I'm like, who the heck is that guy? Turns out he's a director, and he's a pretty well. You ever seen that movie about the black pilots? Was it Red Wings or something like that about the World War II pilots?
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it.
He directed that movie, directed a bunch of TV shows, a bunch of episodes of like Power and all those. He's huge. He's a very successful director. They call a meeting with me, him, and Russell Peters, and we're sitting at this restaurant, and I'm literally going, oh my God, fucking finally, right? And Russell's going to this guy. He's like, I would put Jason's hour against any of these big guys that are out right now. I don't care who it is. I'll put his hour against any of them. Because at that time, I was doing the road with Russell. I'm doing arenas with this guy, right?
Yeah, and you're traveling internationally, right? At that point?
Oh yeah, we did all of Canada. We did India. We did Africa. We did Dubai. We did Bahrain. A lot of the Middle East. And then I'm like, it's about to go down. And then what happens? Pandemic. The world shuts down. And I'm like, are you fucking, God damn it.
Can't fucking get a break.
So because of my age and because of when I got into comedy and how it worked for me, I didn't embrace social media because you didn't need it. You really didn't need it. You just had to be really good at comedy, and the clubs would do their part to promote your shows, and they'd bring you out. You'd get a guaranteed pay plus whatever if the door's up. It was just, everybody's working together.
And nowadays, you don't need to be funny. You have to have a certain amount of.
Here's how it is.
Followers.
See, back when I started, you had to build your act. The very first priority was build that act, get that undeniable act, get that undeniable 5 minutes, turn that into an undeniable 15, undeniable 30 hour, so on. You built the act. Mm-hmm. Once you had the product and the act ready, then you went out, you did the late night shows, and you built your following. Well, now it's flipped. People now, their talent has to catch up to their following. Because a lot of these comics, or a lot of these people, I'm not going to call all of them comics because I don't want to taint that title. They're selling out theaters, but they can't do stand-up. They can't tell a joke. They can't write a joke. They do these slapsticky TikTok bullshit things.
Right.
And then the club owners are like, well, they have millions of followers. We don't have to spend any money on advertising. We'll give them 80 to 100% of the door, and we'll make money on food and drinks. And in that sense, I kind of understand the club side of it. In other words, if I'm a club owner and I'm giving this artist 100% of the door, I want them to do 100% of the work, 100% of the advertising. Makes sense to me. So I'm going to start doing this thing where like, let's split it. Let's do 50-50 door. Let's work together. That's what I've kind of been doing lately. But yeah, I have a story. I did it. There's a guy who's a big TikTok viral guy, and he ended up becoming a comic because of it. So what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of these big comics that are doing theaters, and they're like 5 years in. That's it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because one video, goes viral. Yeah.
I did a gig with this guy. He sells out the Irvine Improv. And it's a 4 o'clock show. He's like, I sold a 4 o'clock show out at the Improv. You want to come do the show? I was like, hell yeah, I'll come do the show. I show up. It's crazy. It's full. And it's adults. And it's packed. And I'm like, yo, I get in the green room and I'm like, dude, this is awesome, man. Congrats. He goes, just hope it goes better than yesterday. I go, well, you didn't sell very well yesterday? What do you mean? He goes, oh no, it was sold out. I go, then what do you mean? He goes, oh, I bombed. I looked at this dude. I put my hands on his shoulders. I go, what are you talking about? You bought, you, not the club. You sold this room out. They're here to see you. and you bombed? And he goes, yeah. And basically what happened is because he's brand new, he made all the mistakes. There's a bunch of mistakes that you make when you're learning comedy, like fucking around with the microphone cord too much,
Yeah.
or letting silence rattle you too much, or they don't laugh. And the biggest one is blaming the audience. When one of your jokes doesn't hit, blaming the audience. And he goes, yeah, I broke a cardinal rule. I go, what do you mean? He goes, a joke didn't hit and I blame the audience. And then the rest of the set just wasn't good. I'm like, ooh. It's like, you're like these guys, their open mics are sold out theaters. It's like, fuck. It's a mind fuck for me. So the mistake that I made, and I there's no way I could have known, is during the pandemic, I didn't embrace social media because everybody went online with TikTok and all that stuff because there was nothing else to do. I got to do a podcast. So during the pandemic, me and Brent Morin and Will Burkhart, who's now
Was that the Lion's Den
tour, we did the Lion's Den. So I thought this is what's going to keep me from losing my mind. Because if I don't do stand up at least 3 times a week, I'm a piece of shit. I'm grumpy at the house. I'm mean to my, you know what I mean? Like I have to do it. So I'm like, what am I going to fucking do? I'm going to lose my mind. But doing that podcast once or twice a week, it saved me. But what we didn't know, Brent and I, is that while we're doing the podcast, our little producer, Will Burkhart, he starts posting comedy stuff on this new app called TikTok. And we're just like, that's the goofiest shit I've ever seen. Like do you remember Vine?
Mm-hmm.
See, Vine is what got me. I had a very successful Vine, but Vine is what got me off of social media, because Vine, when we were all doing Vine, it was fucking awesome. It was so fun. And it was just goofy and silly.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you get these fucking Vine star kids doing these overproduced, slapsticky, goofy. And it was just like,
And they're not long. They're like not even a minute videos, right? They were like really short.
And the complete opposite of funny. Like just as bad. It's just bad. But I should have stayed on that. But it turned me off because I'm like a purist when it comes to comedy. That's not funny. I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah. Which that was my mistake. Clink on that glass harder.
Is that Bella?
No, it's either my wife or my son. So when we were doing our Lions Den pod, Will starts doing this TikTok, and I looked at TikTok. I'm like, ugh, that's annoying. It reminds me of Vine. Wanted nothing to do with it. Next thing you know, he's getting like, he's at one point where he's like, they got 150,000 followers on this thing. And these people want to come see me do stand up. And I'm like, what? So by the time I fought it for a little bit. And then by the time I'm like, okay, I have to do this, it was a little too late. It just was. I didn't get in early on the algorithm. Now I'm doing everything right now, but it's a lot harder of a, journey because now I have to get that one viral thing that will pop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so now it used to be I could write my jokes, I could do my shows, and I can get paid to do this thing. Now I have to have all these new skills. I have to be a video editor. I have to be a marketing guy. You know what I mean? Whereas
lighting. Yeah. You're your own production crew.
Everything. And there's good and bad in that. Like I personally think we don't need agents and managers anymore. I really don't think so at all. People ask me, who's your agent? I go, TikTok and Instagram. Those are my agents. Because your agent's job is to get you out in front of people and get you the money gigs.
Right. Now that's what social media is doing.
Now they're just glomming onto these social media stars and acting like they're working for them. When you're like, the agent, everyone's flipped. The club's changed. The clubs aren't paying for advertising anymore. They want you to do all the work. The agents aren't running out and finding you work. They're just glomming onto the guys that already have work. You know what I mean? It's just, it's gotten really gross.
It's upside down. Yeah. It's flipped.
And it's crazy because at the end of the day, when you come see me do stand up, at this point in my career, the audience is going to leave happy. They're going to be happy with what they saw at the club live.
Yeah.
But now the obstacle is getting them there to see me. Like, for example, clubs that used to hire me to headline their club on weekends across the country now are now going, yeah, we'll give you like a one-nighter on a Wednesday. And then they got these hack-ass guys on the weekends making a ton of money. And then all the Yelp reviews were like, well, that sucked live. Because, for example, there's a guy who does this. He does this TikTok where he talks to it and then pretends he's talking to a little kid, and then he's the little kid. The cut back and forth thing, and he's doing these characters that are a huge hit on TikTok. Then he goes to do a stand-up act, and the audience is disappointed. They're like, "We wanted to see the characters." That's another thing. Audiences are dumb as shit. Audiences are dumb as shit. He had to be like, those characters are me. Those aren't real people. That's me. And so people are like leaving bad reviews at the clubs. And that's another thing. The clubs are struggling right now because of this whole social media boom. Because now these comics on social media are getting so big, they can't perform at the clubs. They got to do the arenas. They got to do the theaters. So now the clubs are having a hard time getting these bigger names. So they're struggling on ticket
now
sales.
They're competing.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff into that. Like one of the reasons these clubs are struggling on ticket sales is because the consumer just spent $500 and something on one ticket to see Matt Rife at the theater, so their money's gone. I can't pay $25 to see these great comics. Not saying that Matt's not a great comic. Matt is an exception. Matt's been in the game since he was 14 years old. But what I'm saying is the ticket prices are insane. They're like minimum $500 a ticket to see these guys. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's rock star level, ticket prices. And even then, like
rock star level, they're doing the Forum. They're doing Madison Square Garden. They're doing the Chase Arena. It's insane. Guys like the guys that I love, Shane Gillis. I think Shane Gillis is an amazing comic. I think he deserves it. But the thing is, he didn't get famous because of his stand-up. He got famous because of his podcast.
SNL.
That's why what you're doing is great. Podcasting is it right now. I have 2 podcasts that I'm doing, and I'll do more if I need to,
Dude, so when I was producing, actually I'll backtrack a little bit. So I think it was during the pandemic. I was already a big Joe Coy fan, and I was following him on Instagram, and then he posted a picture. It might have been at the Haha actually, and it was a photo of you, him. I even think Russell Peters was there.
Maybe.
And I was like, oh, who are all these guys? And he tagged all of you. So I clicked on your profile, and I was like, oh, this guy's from Long Beach. So I followed you. I was watching your videos, and I think the video that got me was your bit on the when you talk about the airport, or like you're talking about the experience of being in an airport, and then when you get on the plane,
most annoying thing to ever do.
The seat belt, like, okay, guys, watch this, and you're like, oh wait, hold on, can you do that?
I open that bit, I go, hey, does anybody in here not know how to fasten a seatbelt? I go, well, take a flight, because they're teaching that one-step lesson on every flight. Yeah, it's just one step.
Or hold on, let me.
Can you do that again?
The seat.
The seat, the upright position. Funny story about that.
Yeah, upright position. Yeah.
So I did that bit. It became a huge hit. Like when I was doing the Road with Russell, the arenas, that was like a closing bit, the upright position where I moved the seat. And which is, anybody who's ever flown knows that that's a very silly thing. And any comic that flies, they're going to talk. So I've been doing the bit everywhere around the world. And everybody's just like, I fucking love that bit. I love that bit. So I would do the bit in Dubai. And me and Russell were the very first act to ever do. We christened, I guess, the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai. We were the first act because they had just finished it. So I'm technically the first person to ever perform there because I was the opening act. And we do the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai, and then we have an after party. And at the after party, some of the flight attendants on Emirates Air were at the show, and they came to the after party. This beautiful girl comes up to me. She's like, oh my God, you're so funny. I love that seat bit. Remember when Ellen DeGeneres did it? And I went, what? She goes, yeah, Ellen DeGeneres has it on one of her specials in like 1990 something. I'm like, what? So I looked it up, and dude, it was so close. So close. To the point where some people that don't know comedy, how comedy works, will be like, oh, Jason stole that bit. I'd never seen it. I'm not an Ellen DeGeneres. I'm not liking Ellen DeGeneres stand-up specials. You know what I mean? Like I can barely stand her show. And, but I'm like, oh my God. And then and a couple people, I talked to a couple people about it, and I said, what I do, I chalk that up to, and what a lot of people don't realize that happens in stand-up is what I call like-minded thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these universal
Like-minded
truths.
thinking, universal truths. And on top of that, think about how many millions and millions of people just in our country are doing stand-up comedy. We're all going to land on the same shit, you know? So I got really nervous, but I'm like, you know, who cares? You know, and then I kind of researched it, and I'm like, a couple other guys talked about it. But it's one of those things that if you fly, we all know that moving the seat this much for your safety is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I added, when have you ever seen the news story? We would have had a miracle here today had the passengers sacrificed their comfort by 1 inch. But, you know, it is what it is.
That's great, man.
With all these things, though, with all these things I'm dealing with and all these obstacles, man, I just fucking love doing it. That's at the bottom line is once I'm up, I was in the worst mood yesterday. A gig that I had booked for August. I was doing this big theater in August, headlining it, and it got canceled because the air conditioning in the theater busted and they have to move the date. I was so just in a cranky ass mood. So I said, you know what? DL Hughley's show's tonight at the Ice House. I'm just going to go hang out. And I walked into the green room and DL goes, thank God you're here. I go, what's up, man? I go, you got room for me tonight? He goes, Collings, I got room for you every night. And sure enough, in like 2 more comics, DL's like, you're up next. And then getting on stage, all the grumpiness, all the bad mood, gone. And then Russell texts me, he's like, come over after your spot. Let's have some cigars. And then I go to Russell's last night because I have a show tonight in Bellflower at the Stand-Up Comedy Club that you're coming to.
We'll be there.
Russ, you what?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, okay. Well, surprise, surprise. Russell's the guest surprise guest. Russell's doing a spot. Yeah. So, and he told me last night, he's like, yo, I'm going to come do your show tomorrow. I got to pick my son up in Anaheim at 4, and then I'm going to come do your show. He goes, let's do a video. And that video I posted where I'm like, special guest. Yep. I was in his kitchen last night. So,
dude, that guy is so humble. I remember meeting him because you guys had a show together, and
did he host it? Was it
I saw him there. I thought he was going to like headline or do like, 10, 15 minutes. He was hosting it. I'm like, what? He's hosting, but he's having
he hosted my headlining night.
And he's having so much fun. Yeah.
You're talking about the one at the Ha-Ha.
And he's having, no, at the Ha-Ha in North Hollywood.
Yeah, Ali Sher's show, Ali and Friends. Russell hosted it.
Yeah. Ali was there. Yeah. Ken, R.I.P. Ken was there.
Yeah.
The keeper.
Me, Ali, Ken, Russell. Gosh, those are some good comics on that show.
Who did you grow up listening to? Who were some of your favorite comedians?
So, comedy, growing up, stand-up comedy was always big in my house. We all just loved it. And back then, it wasn't everywhere. Like these people today don't realize how lucky they are that they could just access stand-up comedy whenever the hell they want. We had to wait around. We had to wait for the new special. And back in the day, in the 80s, early 80s, Rodney Dangerfield had a special on HBO called The Young Comedian Special.
Yeah. Then he would host.
And we would watch that. Dude, and he had like Bob Saget on when he was new.
Bob Saget, yeah. I remember seeing
Carrey when he was new. Stephen Wright when he was new. He was like Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian Special. And he puts these young guys on. And we would watch that. And that's where we discovered Jim Carrey, Sam Kinison. And it was like, whoa. And but it wasn't like, yo, I like them. And then you pick your phone up and go look. You just had to go, wonder when I'm going to see that guy again. That was awesome, How
did you ever find out?
When I was very young, very young, my brother and I found my parents' comedy albums. Because back then, you just got records. And they had
records. Richard Pryor.
They had Richard Pryor. They had Bill Cosby, a Bill Cosby record. They had a Carlin. They had a George Carlin record, but they also had a Red Fox record. And you might be too young to remember this, but Red Fox was the original dirty comic. Like he was filthy, like very dirty and sex jokes. And then my brother and I got into one of these records when we were like 9 and we're listening to this shit. Oh, what? We thought it was fucking hilarious. My parents were like, well, don't listen to those yet. But Bill Cosby was fine because he was rated PG,
Then?
And then, and then like the new, like George, there was a time in the 80s, in the 90s, early 90s when George Carlin seemed to have a new HBO special every year. And that was like a big deal at my house. We couldn't wait to see it. You know what I mean? And then when I got a little older, there was a place in Long Beach called Club 41, and they did a comedy night. And it was like, it was like you could tell these guys weren't successful comics. They were new. It was dark, but for some reason we just enjoyed it. I'm like, this is comedy. Then there was a show, a very famous show. They talked about it in a couple documentaries. So there's a place in Long Beach down on Pine called it's called Shannon's.
Okay. Yeah. Is it an Irish pub?
Yep. And then there's an upstairs. Well, back in the day, that used to be called Birdland West. There was a jazz club in New York called Birdland. And we had a Birdland West. And every Thursday night at Birdland West in Long Beach, this incredibly hilarious comedian, I got the honor to work with him a couple weeks ago, TK Kirkland. He hosted a show every Thursday there. And it was just him and his young comic friends doing comedy. And we would go there every Thursday night. And I'm going to tell you, this is crazy. The lineup was always Martin Lawrence, Damon Wayans, Jamie Foxx.
Damn.
All these, David Allen Greer, all these guys before they were famous, when they were just knocking around doing comedy. And we would go see them every Thursday at Birdland. And I just remember TK, the host, was just hilarious. And I was at a baby shower for a family member or old friend the other day. And one of our other friends says, remember when because they always talk to me about comedy. She says, remember when we used to go to Birdland and watch I was like, oh yeah, it was great. Literally 2 days later, I'm doing DL Hughley's show at the Ice House. And TK Kirkland, the guy that hosts that show, walked in, and I was like, and I walked up and was like, hey man, I just want you to know it's an honor to be on a show with you. I was just talking about you the other night. I go, yeah, you were? What do you mean? I go, friends of mine, we brought up Birdland West. He was like, Long Beach. He goes, you don't understand, dude. That room was a moment. That room ended up becoming DL Hughley's room. DL Hughley ended up running that show on Thursday nights. It was because he told me that night, he goes, I gave that to DL. And DL was like, hell yeah. And so comedy's just been a thing forever for me. And then of course, when I was old enough to go, I got to see these guys develop into stars. You know what I mean? But man, there's always just my favorite comics that are working today are like Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr. I love Sebastian Maniscalco, but you know who I'm just nuts about right now? And he's so funny. And if you don't know who he is, please watch him. He will make you cry laugh. Rory Scovel.
Oh,
Bro, do not sleep on Rory Scovel.
Yeah.
He's one of the best on the fly writers. He did a documentary a few years ago called, what was it called? Living Through the Fear or something like that, where he did a week of shows. Every night he did a show at this theater in Atlanta. Every night he did an hour, no material, just improv off the top of his head. Incredible. But then his material is like, is developed, is just so funny. There was a show on, I can't believe, if I remember it was Netflix, but it was called Physical. And it was about that beautiful brunette actress where she became like a aerobics instructor. It was kind of a dark comedy. Rory played her husband in that series. Okay, he's also an actor. He's been in a ton of stuff, but oh man, yeah. I originally met him on a television set, on the set of a TV show. And Undateable. My buddies were on that show, Undateable, that went like 3 seasons on NBC. Rory was like a guest star on that. Didn't you repost a clip recently? Maybe. Oh, me and my brother sitting on set. Yeah. We were in the green room. They had a green room set up that was just that show. I was supposed to be on the next season of it. They kept trying to find parts to write me in. Like Bill Lawrence is a buddy of mine who's the creator of. Bill Lawrence is an incredible. Ted Lasso. That's a Bill Lawrence show. Oh, so wow. Yeah. He's huge. And him and I kind of got along. Bill Lawrence did comedy back in the day when he was a kid, And he was like, people would go, yeah, we should have Jason come in and play this part. And Bill would always go, no, it's not a big enough part for him. We got to find a good one for him. And after season 3, they got canceled. And I was told by a couple of producers. I was told by a couple of producers that are like, you were this close to being on the fucking show, dude. I was like, damn. But that's my career. You know what I mean? Just almost, you know, but.
And then some shit happened.
But I met Rory on the set of that. And to this day, we still say what's up or whatever online and stuff. But dude, right now, I think right now, Rory is my top favorite. Rory Scovel is my favorite comic working right now. Yeah.
I was re-listening to, because I drive a lot for work, and our transit vans, you could, connect your phone to like Bluetooth. So I'm either listening to podcasts,
Alex,
music, or stand-up.
Just so you know, most cars can do that. But go ahead. You could plug your phone into it.
Not our trucks. Not our trucks.
Music's through the speakers.
Not our box trucks. You got to listen to the radio for that.
Like this. It was old.
You're listening to 95.5 KLOS. Yeah. So I've been re-listening to some of my favorite specials. One of the first specials I ever listened to actually was I was at my Uncle Mark's house, and he had a Mac computer, and I was downloading. My Uncle Mark has such a great taste in music. He grew up in this, he was in his 20s and the 70s. So he was listening to the Beatles and Zeppelin and all those, great kind of classic rock bands. Yeah. And I didn't care what I was downloading. I just connected my phone to his computer, download, and then just downloaded everything from his library. And we were on a trip one day, and I'm listening to music, and all of a sudden I hear this like man talking. I'm like, wait, what is this? And I checked my little iPod, and it was Louis C.K.'s 2008 special, Chewed Up.
Come on. Beast.
I was 11, 12. I was like, what is this?
He's one of my all-time favorites.
Introduction to listen. Yeah.
Your first introduction to listen to stand-up was Louis. That's awesome.
Was Louis.
I love that. Because today these kids are like, my first introduction to listen to stand-up is, some TikTok kid, I'm like, well, you're not. They all think Kill Tony is stand-up. They all think that's what stand-up is. And so I can't tell you how many times I'll like, for example, we do a barbecue every year, like a block party thing at my friend's house every year for 4th of July. And So I've seen these kids all grow up, and now they're like in their 20s, and this kid goes, yo man, when are you going to do Kill Tony? And I'm like, do you understand it's a glorified open mic? I'm not going to do Kill Tony, but that's what it is. It's back to the social media.
Yeah, because they give you a minute.
Yep.
And it's these guys roasting you.
That's what stand-up is. People think that's what it is now. And that's why, you do shows and people start talking in the audience because they want to be roasted. And I'm like, no, this isn't that show, pal. So yeah, it's a fucking obstacle course. But I'm doing it, and I'm not going to quit. And here's why. Because people don't fail at this business, Alex. They just quit. Just quit.
That's very real. See,
Eric Griffin told me that.
Very real, dude. Because I feel like, so my background is theater and acting. I never thought about doing stand-up ever. But some of my favorite comedic actors were also stand-up comics. Like Robin Williams, one of my number one favorite actor of all time. Yeah, and he started in stand-up.
He was like a Juilliard.
And Jim Carrey, another great example.
Wasn't Robin Williams?
He went to Juilliard. Yeah, he studied.
He was the real deal, man.
Yeah, real deal. So I look up to that guy a lot. Well, look down now, but he would have liked that.
Jim Carrey?
No, Robin.
No, I said you look down. What if he goes cremated? You just look around.
Oh, what is that?
Too. Sorry, Robin got in my nose. See,
and
comics can always take the dark and just make a joke out of it.
And
I heard the best.
I
heard the best story of how laughter is the best medicine. We all believe in that. So you were talking about a lot of your friends are improvisers. I love listening to Amy Poehler's podcast. Amy Poehler has a podcast called Good Hang.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Good Hang.
And they told the funniest story because John Hamm, they've all been friends. John Hamm and Amy Poehler, fucking Paul Rudd.
They all kind of came up.
They've all just been buddies forever. So one day they were on the set, and Amy Poehler was very, very pregnant and about to have her baby on the set of SNL. And she gets a phone call and John Hamm was the guest host.
I remember the story.
Amy gets a phone call that her OBGYN passed away. That that's supposed to deliver her baby. He died. He had a heart attack in the middle of the night and died. And she's in tears. John Hamm walks up to her, puts his arm around her, and says, "Hey, listen, this is my first time doing SNL. Can you please pull it together?" And that just healed everything. She just cracked up. I just fucking love that shit, dude.
See,
that's one of my favorite
man. Jokes like that. Yeah. Anyway, so I was doing theater and improv and sketch and so the theater school I went to, they offered stand-up classes. So it was like part of the curriculum. We had to take it.
What school?
I was like, oh, it's Theater of Arts.
Where is that?
They're like Theater of Arts Conservatory. They had moved to several locations, but they are the oldest acting conservatory in I want to say Los Angeles or California. What was that?
I was just listening.
Yeah, and so anyway, so part of the curriculum was to take a stand-up course, and the stand-up teacher who is now or was the president, who later became the president of the school, it was like an 8-week course, and then our final was to perform at the Comedy Store because he had a connection with D's Nuts. What's his name?
Vargas.
Was it Dean? Vargas. Yeah, Vargas. Yeah. He was friends with Vargas, and so like they made a deal, like we're gonna have these students come and perform. And so of course we all got like 5 minutes. And me being one of the only students who was going to that school who's actually from LA, born and raised in LA, everyone else was from out of town. So when they all came, like maybe a few of them brought like a couple of friends. I had like 15 people show up.
Oh, wow.
And of course Vargas liked that.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, like I'm going to book you on the next show. And then, I was like, all right. So like, I remember, so I still have my envelope and written on it says $85. I got paid $85 for 5 minutes because I brought 15 people. I'm like, oh, I'm a professional. I'm going to keep doing this. And then I performed again for a second time. I didn't bring as many people, but I still brought enough to get me paid. Did it the third time. The numbers kept dwindling down.
Bringer shows are the worst because your friends are like, I got to go to another one, dude.
I got to go again. I got to pay. I got a 2-drink minimum.
Your friends never want to pay.
I got to drive to West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, even my family were like, yeah, well,
it doesn't
let us know when you're
either.
performing down.
It doesn't change. I'm doing a show tonight. I'm 20 years in. I've done everything there is to do in stand-up. And my friends are still like, yo, can I get a guest list? I got like 15 people that want to come. And I'm like, bro, I go, this is how I make a living. So if you don't pay for tickets, I don't get paid. And they're like, oh, like it didn't even, one of them is in the elevator business. I go, can I have a free elevator?
No. Okay, wait. Now I feel shitty because I was one of those people that asked to be on a guest list.
Well, yeah, it's different. Honestly, Alex, you didn't really have to be on the guest list. You know that. You just show up there. You're still considered a comic.
Oh, actually, okay. You just reminded me because I know why I was talking about Theater of Arts. So, I never felt like I was like, a comic. As I wanted to be. I looked up to Jim Carrey and Robin Williams, and I wanted to be a comedic actor.
Right.
That's what I want, and I still want to do that, and I'm still trying to do that. And because I feel like I could play characters comically rather than come up with material and speak to an audience.
Right.
I've always felt that about myself, and I still do. And so when I was doing stand up, like I did like the feeling because it's still performance. Because I was getting I wasn't getting offered. I was getting myself booked. Like I would sign up for like the open mics, and I'd do a couple shows here and there, and I was getting more work as a stand up than I was an actor. I was like, all right, well, F it. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go where the work is where the work is at.
Right.
And I was doing a bunch of shows, and I was still having fun, but there was something about it. It's not my passion. Right. I admire people who do it. I love being surrounded by comedians and comics, and I love being with it. But I
respect that.
I lost it.
Let me tell you why I respect that. The fact that you say and know this isn't my passion is huge because there are so many people doing this right now that are doing stand-up that I know it's not their passion. They're just throwing shit at the wall right now to see what's going to stick.
Yikes.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're it's a means to an end for them. Like it's a stepping stone. I just want fame. They just want fame. They don't want to be,
No.
they're not thinking about the art form. They just want to be famous. And so
I
the
know
fact that
people
you're
like
like,
that
I know that's
in
not my
acting as well,
passion.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know the fact that you said this is not my passion, I'm going to go follow my passion. To me, I can only respect that. Yeah.
Thanks, man. But I truly felt that way. And I was actually speaking to our mutual friend, Francisco Ramos.
I love Frank.
You know Francisco, right? I had him on a show. I went to go support a couple of his shows at the Ha Ha, and I was talking to him, and he was, giving me some really great advice. And he was like, honestly, man, the only advice I can really give you is if you're not hungry for this, it's not going to work out. And I was like, and that stayed with me. I was thinking about that sentence for like the next, couple weeks. I was like, he's right. I'm not hungry. I'm hungry to perform in a theater, in a play, in a movie, in a short film, in a commercial.
Here's the thing. That short film that you made it's obvious that that's what you were hungry to do. You were hungry for that because look at the finished product. It's great.
Thanks. Thanks, Jason.
Stop being gay, dude.
All right. Couple final questions, man. Then I'll let you get on with your day because you got a show tonight. And I'm gonna drive an hour and a half to go see it.
Nice. It used to be a lot shorter, but you had to move.
Dude, that drive from Downey to Hollywood on a Monday morning at 7 a.m. brutal. Yeah. Even worse on the way back Monday after work. Hour and a half. That's why you would see me a lot at the comedy clubs in West Hollywood because I was like, well, I'm not gonna drive an hour and a half. I'm just gonna drive 10 minutes and go hang out with comics.
It's a different experience for me because I don't have to drive in the morning. My shows are at night. If I leave here at 7:30, takes me no time to get out there. But having to do that drive time work traffic thing. Oh, yikes!
I can't wait till I don't do that anymore. But I want to talk to you about, you got a special out right now. It's not me, it's you.
It's been out a couple of years now.
Couple years, right? Yeah, it's been 2 years. What was the experience of producing it, and just kind of talk me through some of the behind the scenes and what that was like.
So what we talked earlier about, I was going to have that special done, and then the pandemic happened, and that whole thing went away. Well, a buddy of mine, a guy that I met through Chris D'Elia years ago, he was just he liked Chris's stand-up, so he would come around, and then him and Chris became buddies, and of course, me and Chris are buddies, so me and this guy became buddies. Richie Walls. Richie Walls is his name. Turns out he owns and operates a production company. They do television commercials. They do television shows. They do movies. And he became a big fan of mine. And Brent Morin and I ended up in Nashville because they're based out of Nashville. Mm-hmm. Brent Morin and I ended up in Nashville at Zany's one weekend, and he hit me up. Actually, who the actor Shane West is? Shane West was the lead actor. He was the lead actor in that Mandy Moore movie, A Walk to Remember. He was in A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery. Sure. He's just been in tons of shit. He's also a buddy of mine that I met through the stand-up. He calls me and says, hey, my buddy Richie wants to come to your show in Nashville tonight. Can you get him in? I go, yeah, send me his name. And he sends Richie. I go, Richie Walls? I go, he's a buddy of mine. He goes, oh, hell yeah. We're all coming to the show tonight. I go, you're all in. Great. So they come to the show. We end up going out afterwards in Nashville and partying all night. And the night ended with me and Richie making a deal for his company to do my special. Literally, that's how it works in this business. Right place, right time. Yeah. It's all about relationships. He's like, we're producing your special. We're going to make your special. And we ended up deciding to shoot it in Nashville at the Analog Theater. And I think it was like a year after that night we hung out was when we shot. And it was great. It started out on Amazon. Amazon kind of buried it a little bit because it wasn't an Amazon original. So then I moved it to YouTube, and now it lives on YouTube. And anybody wants to go see it, just look up Jason Collings. It's not me, it's you. on the YouTube.
On the YouTube.
It
Okay,
was such a
man. It's
great,
been
the
real
experience was
nice
great.
having
Let me tell you about the
Joe.
experience of shooting this special. Can I tell you about the experience, why I loved it so much? Because it became a family affair. Because my wife was in the credits. My wife did my wardrobe. My brother was an assistant to the director. Brent Morin, who you know is like my little brother, he directed the special.
He
And then
directed it, right?
Richie Wall's the owner of the company, is a good buddy of mine. So it was incredible. And now I'm still, and then I met people on the production, like the sound person, the girl that did my makeup, me, her and I and my wife still chat online. You know what I mean? Like it was just such a really cool experience. We had a few glitches,
They
you
gave you
know.
the prosthetics, right?
Yeah, made me look really young.
Prosthetics and the wig, and dyed your hair.
Giant bulge. Yep. But it was awesome, man. But yeah, I have a special out there. I have another one I shot a half hour in Canada last year that hasn't, I don't know where it's going to live. Russell Peters' production company did it, and we're just waiting for a place for it to land. But I'm going to let people know when that comes out. But I want to shoot I'm going to shoot another one. I'm getting ready to shoot a whole nother special. Yeah.
Do it, man. Yeah, I wish you nothing but the best, dude.
Thanks.
One final thing. For my future listeners, because this is the first episode. I have friends that have come up to me and they're like, "Oh, dude, like I want to get into stand up, but and I would tell them, well, just write what you know and go to the open mics, and that's sort of how you kind of build your 5 minutes, build your 10. Do you have anything you could say
Here's the thing.
to people who want to become?
If you want to do stand up, you have to physically do it. Go find out where there's an open mic, find out where there's anywhere you could stand in front of an audience on a microphone and start telling jokes. Because being funny isn't just being funny and being a stand up, two different things. Like, how many people do you meet that are like, I should do stand up? Everybody tells me I should do stand up. All my friends say I'm funny to do stand up. And I'm just like, no, but for also most of the time they're wrong. I have a new thing I say when people come up to me after shows, like, man, I'm pretty funny. I'm pretty funny. All my friends tell me I should do stand up. And I go, oh man, you have really bad friends. But if you really want to do it, it's like the thing we talked about earlier about the passion. If you feel it and you're passionate about it, just get on a microphone and start talking. And if you bomb, go back the next night and do it again. It's like, the falling off the horse thing. Dust yourself off and get back up. I approached stand up a lot like I approached martial arts. And my father used to say this thing to our students that I still say it to this day to people. They would come to karate class and jiu-jitsu class. And they would just get their asses handed to them. They would get ass kicked. They couldn't remember the moves. They were just a bad. And they would say to my dad, Mr. Collings, what's the secret of becoming good at this? Like, how do I become good at this? There's no secret. And my dad said, the secret is just show up to your next class. That's it. And that's how it is with stand-up. There's no secret. The only way you get good at anything is just to do it over and over again. The only way you build a muscle is to go to the gym and work out that muscle. Obviously, there are the shortcuts like getting surgery, but people are trying that with stand-up now, but it ain't going to work. True talent equals longevity, in my opinion. But if you want to do it and you think you want to do it, it's so much easier today to find a place to do it. There are communities on Facebook. Hey, guys, I want to come do an open mic. Just go do the open mic. Get on a microphone.
I've met people who I've only been doing stand up maybe like a couple of years, and they're like, all right, like I'm ready. Like I want to produce like a special. I'm like, dude, you've only been doing it like a couple of years.
That's the problem.
What are you doing, man?
That's the problem with this younger generation. That's the problem with these younger comics because they want instant gratification. Perfect example, our mutual friend, Sam Hirschgold, was at an open mic. He was at an open mic recently, and he overheard a guy go, man, I've been doing this for 18 months. When am I going to pop? And that's the mentality. That's the algorithm.
18 years.
Yeah. But the thing is, here's the reality though, Alex, it could happen very soon because of social media. Social media is, in my opinion, one of the best things that happened to the business of comedy and one of the worst things that happened to the art of comedy.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so hard to watch too. And you get these young guys that walk into green rooms like they own the place, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? But it's bad. It's bad and it's good, and it's bad and it's mostly bad.
It's mostly bad, or what does George Carlin say? It's bad for they're all in a club and you ain't in it.
Yep. You're not in it. And then the new one I say is, and the game is rigged. The game's rigged, man. Algorithms. If you got algorithms, you're a ticket seller now. If you got talent, you better get some algorithms.
Hey, man, thank you so much. It's been an honor having you as my first guest, dude. I really appreciate you driving all the way to your living room to be
Actually, I went from my bedroom to the office. I got my shoes in the back there, and yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, if you want to get into stand-up, or if you're just a fan and looking for new comics to listen to, check out my buddy Jason Collings. You can find him on YouTube, on Instagram, and he's got you got all your shows posted there.
Yep. Also, remember, the name is Collings. If you type in Jason Collins, INS, you're going to get the gay basketball player. But my last name is COLLINGS. Jason Collings. Everywhere you just Google that, you'll find all my shit.
There you go, man. Well, again, appreciate it, dude, and I'll see you later tonight.
Later.
See you guys. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you'll get notifications when new episodes drop. Thanks to my guest, Jason Collings. Music by Mark Fabian. Produced and engineered by Robert Altschuler. Recorded at Command Recording Studios. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Kill the Small Talk Podcast and at Command_Recording_Studios. We'll see you next time.